Harry Truman came into one of the most difficult assignments any president's ever faced. He succeeded Franklin Roosevelt when he died on April 12, 1945. The war in Europe was just ending with all the problems that implied. He had to create the United Nations. He had to create an international system of finance that would be more stable than the one that had plunged the world into the Depression and brought on World War II. And he had the problem of transitioning the American economy from a wartime footing to a peacetime footing. All of this was in front of him, not to mention the tremendous decision of whether to use the atomic bomb.
President Truman's presidency helped invent the modern world in a variety of ways. I think in particular in the new world order that was created after the end of World War II, where there was economic devastation all over the world, starvation, industrial stagnation, and Truman came around with his policies and institutions that he created that really addressed the problems that the world suffered from.
He reorganized and expanded our government. The Department of Defense, Air Force, CIA, NASA, National Security Council, Council of Economic Advisors, all have their roots in the Truman administration.
The Harry Truman Library Institute was created in 1957 by President Truman himself, and the president knew that the Truman Library, which is a federal facility, was going to need extra help, extra funding, extra staffing in order to accomplish the goals that President Truman had for the library. So that's when the Truman Library Institute was created.
Harry Truman himself said the only thing new in the world is the history you do not know. And we try to connect the history from the Truman administration to the present day in all areas that we do. One example is in the feedback stations in the museum. We ask visitors questions that connect to the gallery subject matter. So for example, in the gallery that talks about the Red Scare, we ask visitors to reflect on a question that's weighing national security versus individual liberties.
The Institute itself is charged with pulling the stories out of there, making the experiences relatable to people. We provide the education programs, the public programming, the exhibits that help tell those stories and disseminate all of that information in a way that's relatable to people.
The Truman Library Institute is a classroom for democracy in a variety of ways. I think predominantly with our programming that we do. We obviously support the Truman Library and the museum exhibit here in Independence, Missouri, but we also have programming that we do in Kansas City, Missouri. We do programs in Washington, D.C., a couple of things in Europe. In addition to the programs that we do, we actually have a robust educational program that 15,000 or more students participate in every year, and we're teaching them about democracy, about the government, about American history and the presidency, all things that President Truman identified as kind of core strategies and priorities for him.
The White House Decision Center is the flagship education program for the Harry Truman Presidential Library and Museum. When students walk into the Decision Center, they are living history. They become President Truman and his advisors. They go through the same crises that were faced by Truman and the country at the time.
Students are grappling with Truman-era decisions using primary source, previously classified documents. But at the base of them, they are moral and strategic dilemmas that we're still dealing with today. Civil rights, sovereignty versus security, the protection of democracy, and peace in the Middle East.
The Truman Library Museum recently underwent a $30 million renovation. Previously, younger visitors were not taken into account when the museum had been redesigned back around 2000. So the younger visitors were made the priority this time around. More manipulatives, more videos and interactives, because not all learners learn the same way.
For the first time, visitors are going to be able to walk in and learn his life story from start to finish in an organized, modern, up-to-date, interactive way that will speak to kids and to adults, to people who don't know much about Harry Truman.
We are working with the city to rename the terminal at Kansas City International Airport for President Truman. We're also building a new website that will take our museum experience online for those who can't physically visit the museum. And we're working on an AI chatbot called Ask Harry. So you'll be able to get the president's input and famous quotes on particular subjects.
President Truman died a long time ago, and his presidency was 80 plus years ago, but there are so many things in the modern world that tie back directly to Truman, both foreign policy and domestic and internal affairs. And I think the more people learn about Truman, the more they'll learn about what our politicians should be like and hold politicians accountable for a higher level of service and quality. We don't grow up knowing what democracy is like we grow up knowing how to speak English. We've got to learn it. We've got to teach it, we've got to share it, and we've got to practice it. And I think those are things that President Truman knew when he created his library and the Truman Library Institute. And I think those are parts of his legacy that could be very valuable to America moving forward into the future.